To borrow the words of one friendly gamer, Julian Noodle, I have worms in my head. They scream. And today they've been exceptionally loud, and some of it is almost making sense. So I'm going to archive these thoughts here like a time capsule. For thoughts. A thought capsule, if you will. I can't promise it will all be fully coherent. ADHD sucks and Ritalin is expensive. But anyway. Today, the worms have been screaming at me about stop killing games. So, stop killing games is in a rough spot right now. And I feel like it's important to talk about it and make it clear that making clear where it's at and where it's trying to reach, what it's trying to reach, what its goal is. And to be fully transparent, I don't have the know-how to fully unpack the extent of the legalese behind it and all the exact technicalities of it, but I care deeply for the subject. I care deeply for the for everything that it stands for. It claims to stand for. That is. So, for the person living under the rock, for the worm under the rock, if you will, what is Stop Killing Games? Well, as the name implies, it is a movement, a campaign, collecting signatures on a petition for video game developers and publishers to stop irreparably and irrevocably destroying and removing their video games from existence. This movement was started by one Ross Scott of Accursed Farms, the YouTube channel. He's been known for a few different series of videos he makes. He's a relatively low-key, low output YouTube channel, but he makes quality stuff. He used to make Freeman's Mind as like a little series. He's a long-standing YouTube veteran in his own way, and he makes a lot of content on old obscure games and some of the preservation of thereof. He like talks about how to get them to run, how games have evolved over the years. And he's been critical of games as a service. I'm doing massive air quotes right now for some time now. He started this movement as a grassroots thing, fully non-profit. Hell, even the website stopkillinggames.com even states there is no fundraising. It is not seeking fundraising. Anything that claims that it's fundraising is fraudulent and should be reported. So they're fully self-funded. And if it goes badly or anything, it might, this man is risking even possible damage to his own reputation just by exposing himself to a larger, more charged audience, so to speak. So just, keep that in mind. So anyway, what prompted all of this is basically, again, he's been critical about this for years now. He's made videos on the subject, or like similarly charged subject before, And this time around, a game that he had made a video previously on, which had a very specific little quirk and interesting draw about it. The Crew, made by Ubisoft, a driving game, driving racing, car game. And the main draw of it was that the entire game included a scaled down version of the entire contiguous US. You could literally drive from coast to coast inside the game. And that is wild to think about, because even scaled down, that I did that. I played this game. It took me like an hour or two. I don't remember exactly, because, again, I can't go and check right now because the game is gone, effectively. It is fully inaccessible. Yeah, I remember I've spent days on end just driving around in the game fairly aimlessly, and sort of vicariously living a dream of mine of just like going on this like gigantic road trip and just like having no explicit clear-cut endpoint or goal or destination, and just seeing all the interesting shit that I find along the way. And the game facilitated this fully. There were little sites, tourist traps, modeled after like real-life things where you could drive there, and the game would even give you a little blurb about like, oh, here's why this is notable, and yeah, cool. And you could go to these places and see stuff, and it was interesting. I never cared for its like online racing and community-driven stuff either. It was a thing, but I didn't care for it all that much. However, I did have one very specific interaction with another player, where I was just driving along as previously described, and suddenly a player in the same car as I am drove up towards me, and he noticed that, oh, we're driving the same car. It was a Lamborghini Miura, like an old one of the first notable Lamborghini car models ever made, and that got like any kind of popular. And he just started honking at me like, hey, he clearly didn't want anything specific other than just acknowledging that, hey, you like Miuras as well. And then, like, we just drove around, and we kept fucking honking at each other, just over the fact that, like, hey, we're just having a little drive along because we appreciate the same car. Hell yeah. It was silly, but I liked it. So again, I also have history with this game, and I fully understand why he made a video on it, because it's an interesting game. And again, it is no longer available. It has been effectively deleted from existence. And that sucks. That fucking sucks. So, this thing seems to be happening more or less commonly lately, and I don't really like this. And it's been happening for a while now. So there was Raycevick made a video talking about the forgotten co-op campaign of Far Cry 3, one of the best games of that series, and it's that they just shut the servers down for that, and it was more or less forgettable, But even the multiplayer, like the regular PvP multiplayer and the co-op multiplayer, all had like interesting ideas about it that are just like, damn, it's a shame that you can't access that anymore at all. So, yeah, that happened to that game as well. But one very specific game that comes to mind in this context is Ghost Recon Phantoms. It was a free-to-play little third-person shooter, like tactical cover shooter, and I remember I genuinely enjoyed it. It was fun. It had like cool mechanics. It was sure it had the usual free-to-play trappings, but it was fun and I liked it. And that just fucking disappeared, and people barely even recognized that it ever existed. And that's a shame. I hate that that's a thing that can happen. Notice how all of these are made by Ubisoft. Uh, a pattern. Hmm? But yeah, also there was a long-standing problem with Titanfall 2, where the servers were so borked and so just unsupervised that they were broken for like more than a year. It was a long time, and eventually the servers were just like explicitly unusable, and hackers just like took over the entire thing, mocking the devs for failing to do so. And there was an entire project, what was it, North Star, that just decided to make some form of like community hostable servers. And I tried it. It was functional. However, one of the main interesting things to me about the gameplay of Titanfall was the existence of like little computer-controlled enemies that you could shoot even in like the main game modes. And they were unavailable because they didn't have the data from the official servers to run that, to emulate that. They could only emulate the function, the very basic like PvP functions of the game, and they were like heavily tweaking it as well. So it was never a clear-cut solution to anything. And eventually, they fixed it like completely unceremoniously. They fixed the official servers. So theoretically, Titanfall 2, as of right now, is still playable, but what happens when it doesn't? I mean, I guess you can still access the single-player campaign, which is good, but fuck knows how long that would last, or like they would just say like, hey, don't play Titanfall 2, play Apex instead. And they just removed Titanfall 2. Recently, there was a little indie, little goofy-ass little game that I saw. I received an email from Steam, or through Steam, from the developers, claiming that, oh, we're removing this from... yeah, cool, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know if I, like, kept it around. I think I kept it. Yeah, no, this is not it. Alright, never mind. Either way, they said that, like, one of the main components of the game through third-party software is becoming unavailable, and they just said, well, fuck it. That was one of the main advertised selling points of the game. So we don't feel we don't have the clean conscience to keep selling this game as is, when one of the main selling points of the community elements are becoming unavailable for the game. So they're wholesale taking it off of Steam. And that sucks. I mean, I get their reasoning, but you could still, I'd say, repackage the thing. But deleting an entire game from an existence because, well, something about it is not doable anymore. We are removing it from your library. I think they even said that we are removing it from your library. Excuse me? Don't reach into my pocket and take shit from me, okay? Just don't do that. Anyway, this is a whole whole problem that is continuously happening, and it fucking sucks. Again, once again, it just sucks that this is the reality that we live in. That we can pay for something, and they can take it away at a moment's notice because we don't feel like it anymore. I don't fuck with that. No. So yeah. Anyway, the crew gets taken down, and there's still enough people playing it that there was a significant enough backlash against Ubisoft that people said, "Hey, what the fuck? I can't even like play single player." And get this, Ubisoft answers, "Well, you can buy the Crew 2 or Crew Motor Club or whatever. I don't know. If you want to play more Crew, you can just buy our new game. We'll take away your old game and leave you with nothing, even though you paid for it. But you can buy our new. You can give us more money." Just imagine, like, insert car company. They like, come to your house, and they, like, take your car. They just tow your car away entirely because they don't support their old model anymore. They made a new model, and if you want to have a car, even though you had a car right up until this moment, you paid for it. You had no lease on it. It was fully considered your property, but we're taking it away because we don't support it anymore. Hey, but you can buy a new car. It's you bought that car for $60,000. You paid the installments for fucking 5 years to pay it off, but hey, it was yours. You finally made the installments, and you bought it, and paid all the $60,000. Oh yeah, sorry, we had to raise the new one's price to $80,000 because we weren't making enough money to support we weren't making enough money to support our bloated, mismanaged business infrastructure. So we're taking away your old car to force you to buy a new one. Like, how the fuck would you feel? Or, like, again, anything you buy, like, physical goods have the protection that they can't just come to your house and take it away. Like, sure, recalls can happen, but you're not explicitly obligated to hand back your product. And by doing so, you forfeit your rights to legal action because the recall was issued. You were aware that the product was faulty, and you had legal recourse to get it fixed or like replaced, but you didn't. So you forfeit your right to that, and it's fine. That's your choice. So anyway, this entire thing fucking sucks. And yeah, Ross Scott decides that, hey, enough is enough. I fucking hate this, and I have a little bit of a platform to make a stink about it. So he does. And he did, in fact, manage to get like several European political officials on board. They support and facilitate this movement. If this petition passes, there will be effective results for this. Technically, this is going to go directly to lawmakers after this, and this can effectively prompt like basic legislation in this area. And speaking of Ross, to my knowledge, he does not claim any kind of ownership of this project. In fact, he only considers himself a spokesperson / organizer, even on the website itself. That's what he is titled as. So he's not trying to take ownership of it. So again, like, what is this entire campaign about? What is this movement about? What's the specific goal? Because okay, yeah, we want this shit to stop, but like, how do we want to go about doing this? So currently what the current situation is. Currently, there appears to be little to no consumer protection laws pertaining to digital goods. And more or less worldwide. Like, the entire industry of digital goods is so recent. It's, what is it, like 20 years old technically? When the fuck did Steam happen? Like, basically, that was kind of an inception point, an inflection point, uh, of like digital goods services. Like, that's not a lot of time to manage to make informed decisions about legislation on the subject. So, yeah, obviously it's not caught up. So, yeah, the entire video game industry is basically in an arms race to outrun any and all legislation for digital goods and to ensure that they have complete control of their monetization plans over these digital goods. Because, yeah, as of right now, it's basically more or less entirely unregulated, save for some, like, momentary hubbub over loot boxes some years ago. So, yeah, that made us stink, sure, and people in the EU, like, legal areas did take notice, but that was, that was just like a little flash in the pan. We haven't heard any, like, consumer protection movements or, like, significant consumer protection laws being passed ever since then. And that was like, what was that, like, that was like almost 10 years ago. Like, we need to keep this ball rolling. So yeah, right now, any video game requiring an online server to any degree can practically disappear at a moment's notice if the owner of the intellectual property, in this case a developer or worse, a publisher, decides that it is not profitable enough to, like, keep it running, be it single or multiplayer. Either of these are just completely subject to these. And yeah, the campaign is not about any specific solution to this problem. It is about acknowledging the problem. It is to specifically dig in, for the consumers to dig in their heels and say, enough is enough. I paid for this. I want to own my copy of this. And I want to be able to keep my copy of this without the threat of it, like, irrevocably going away. So yeah, that's the general idea. Again, it's not a perfect solution. It's not a overarching solution or, like, any kind of, like, complete solution to the problem. This is about acknowledging the problem, getting the officials to acknowledge the problem. And yeah, I have seen people voicing concerns about the nature of the goal to this campaign, and that may be a valid point to a degree, because it is probably significantly difficult to communicate something like this. Especially if the person at the tip of the spear is not particularly experienced in this kind of work. And Ross is, he's an old head in terms of YouTube, but he's never been a public speaker per se. Like, just like having a public-facing persona on YouTube, and being a public speaker are two very different things. So let's just keep that in mind. So yeah, and I do want to touch upon a few particular concerns. One of them is one concern that I've seen is about the exact specifics of potential legislation that could result from this campaign. And yeah, okay, fair point. However, this campaign is not about that. And I feel like bringing these up is a misunderstanding of the point of the campaign's end goal. This campaign, practically, as far as I understand, ends with legislation acknowledging the problem of this kind of, like, lack of support for retaining digital ownership. So yeah, my interpretation is that it's not a legal mandate. It's not explicitly legally mandating a specific solution to the problem, because the entire industry is much too fickle in terms of how it operates, and it's just like rife with abuse, and it's just likely to sidestep incomplete legislation in its entirety. It will just like, like, forget loopholes. There's gargantuan gaping craters in and it's the regulation of digital goods is severely lacking, and any like regulation of digital goods and distribution of digital goods is gonna be like, at this point, is probably still gonna be some kind of positive if it's any kind of inclusive about the consumer's right to retain some form of ownership for what they paid for. That's my that's my main interpretation of what this thing is supposed to do. And again, it's not mandating anything specific. What it is mandating is just the clear and unambiguous existence of an end-of-life plan for digital goods that require online activation and online services. There needs to be something in place, an end-of-life plan, to prevent their complete removal from existence, and thus allow customers and consumers to retain at least some value associated with their purchase. Like, sure, let's say the crew's servers are off, but we like patch the game so it, like you can still like just like take a car and drive it around the map. You can still access the map, see the stuff on the map, and like still enjoy some of the driving in the game. That is like, something. It's not like a digital paperweight. And yeah, that's the main idea about the game. To my knowledge, the nature of this EOL or end of life plan is left up to the IP owner's discretion. The only requirement is that it must leave the game in a reasonably functional state. Again, as long as you can boot into the game and at least observe the assets associated with it or something. Give us something. So, yeah, specifics are well and good, but I do firmly believe that we need some kind of foothold before we can have any kind of leverage arguing about the specifics or any further steps in this area. Thinking about what color your room's wall is going to be in your future house is silly when you don't even have the means to own even fuck foundation. You don't even have a plot of land. You don't even have the means to own land where you can build your own house. It's just dreaming. It's just aimless, consequenceless dreaming at that point. We need something to stand on first. So, yeah, that's my take on that specific area. And again, this is my own personal take. I don't take ownership of anything. Ownership? What am I even talking about? Of course I don't take any ownership. It's just no. I take ownership of this entire idea. This is just my current thoughts on the matter, my current beliefs on the matter, which are obviously subject to change later down the line. But if I'm presented with evidence against, or anything solid and substantial and whatever, you know what opinions are. So yeah, another concern that has been raised with the campaign, and this is the one where the single biggest wrench has been thrown into it. And it was raised by a particular online personality, for lack of a more fitting term, going by the moniker of Pirate Software. And he claims that the wording of the unofficial statement on video made by Ross in relation to specifically in relation to keeping the scope of the campaign reasonably achievable. He said, quote, not verbatim, but like, quote, politicians like an easy win. And this guy claims that this undermines the entire intent of the campaign because it's for the wrong reasons. And, oh boy. Now, I want to make it clear, personally, I don't care for the man. He rubbed me the wrong way from the get-go. I did, like, the first interviews with him. I don't know. It felt, everything he said felt wrong. He was right out the gate swinging like he was the absolute fucking authority on everything. And I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way, even before this entire situation arose. I don't fuck with the man's energy. Let's just leave it at that. And I also do not want to go into any detail about his personal history whatsoever, because there are plenty of videos of that already. Okay, you can watch those. It's just no. I don't want to touch that. Not with a fucking 10-foot pole. No, sir. So, what I do want to touch upon is just the utterly sanctimonious, condescending, and explicitly hostile behavior towards the campaign that he very clearly exhibited. And simultaneously, he also completely refused to properly elaborate on his his thoughts on the matter, or even engage with it, which has actively harmed the campaign, because he did amass a very big following, a very big audience, very quickly. And if you have an audience, you have a responsibility towards influencing your audience's thoughts and expectations and beliefs. You do not live in a vacuum. You will affect this and that, and just there's always effect to what you say on the internet. And I fully try to internalize that here right now as well. So, take that for what you will. So yeah, it's just, malicious intent is being displayed here. And my thoughts on this, just to address this specific concern, having to cater to the nature of politics is, unfortunately, an uncomfortable reality when it comes to any campaign petitioning for legislation, especially when it is in protection of customers against corporate intent. Corporations have been actively lobbying to keep legislation in these areas fast and loose because it is in their best interest, not the market's best interest. The market includes consumers as well, supply and demand. Supply alone does not make a market. Demand alone, a market does not make. There needs to be both, and they both need to be in balance with each other. Too much supply, the demand is not going to pick it up. That you're losing money. It's the money on the table, that kind of shit. It's I ain't no fucking economist, but screwing over your customer base and subjugating them is, I don't think that's any kind of future-proof, healthy business practice. I just don't think that's any kind of sustainable. So yeah, they do not want the customer's interest to be represented. They want their own best interest in kept in mind. So yeah, that's just how anything like this has to go. And believe you me, I am not a politically savvy person. Holy shit, do I get like violently sick over politics because it's just I live in a fuck ass country. I deal with it enough, even if I'm not following it, because it's just affecting me. You cannot live in a bubble. As much as you want, you cannot live in a bubble. So again, I am not a politically savvy person, but I do have the ability of basic pattern recognition, which is, rapidly going extinct, unfortunately. Like, again, I don't want to go there. But here's a distinct pattern that I am recognizing. Populist demagoguery. Catering to the lowest common denominator keeps fucking getting results. Regardless of what or how or even who those results end up benefiting. Like, obviously, it's like very, very controlled in that sense. But it's not what the result is. It's just results, basic like steps, because we need to be able to point at something that we made that, we did that. See, and what did you do? Fucking nothing. And then, like, on the other side of the other end of this spectrum is like, forward-thinking, progressive, inclusionist, egalitarian, fucking conscious thought. And it's face-planting harder and harder because they want to do all the things all the time, and they can't. We need something that we can stand on. We need a foundation, a plot of land, anything that we can stand on to make something happen. And for the record, I fucking hate that this is the world we live in. Okay? This is not healthy. Either side. We need, like, some kind of middle ground. Yeah, I'm the centrist prick. Fuck you. Whatever. I don't care. But neither of these sides is achieving what is best for us. And that's the main point I'm trying to make here. So yeah, it just sucks. This is how we can make something happen if we want something to happen. And yeah, I don't know, like, multiple active video game developers have gone on record to say that they are very critical of this, like, this hostile behavior towards this campaign, because they point out regularly that what the campaign is asking for, a basic end-of-life plan, just anything to keep your game reasonably functional. It's not at all an unreasonable requirement towards developers, be that big or small. The big ones, they can fucking deal with it. Believe you me, they can fucking deal with it. There's so much money in the fucking industry, holy shit, and most of it is going into pockets. And not the developers' pockets, believe that. So yeah, it's not at all an unreasonable expectation and requirement towards developers, not even the small ones, to have just an end-of-life plan to preserve and archive their games. It's not that difficult. If small developers can say this with like, any kind of security towards themselves, then I do think that it should be acted upon. So, yeah, fucking, today is the 1st of July, 2025. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if the worms in my brain decided to screech like this because Ross did in fact go on record to say that we have until the 31st of July to make the petition. Right now we are standing at 71%. 711,768 signatures have been collected so far. I have signed it. I very clearly have signed it. I made sure I was there because I fully support this idea. If you are an EU citizen and you give even the slightest fuck about having any kind of ownership rights or consumer rights, sign the petition. Regardless of cultural, socioeconomic, even political status or background, this campaign is for your benefit. Anyway, yeah, that was my thought capsule for today. I'll probably make more of these because this was a very interesting experiment for me to just have some kind of outlet for the worms to just be done with their screeching and also, I don't know, be productive. Does this count as productive? I don't fucking know, dude. I have ADHD. I don't understand how productivity works. I am incapable of true productivity. But yeah. If you listened, thanks for listening. If not, thanks for not listening. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know how to do this. Okay, I'm not good at this. I'm sorry. I'll learn. I promise. Please,